Hello, listeners, and welcome to Yates CCE Gardens, Native Alternatives. I'm Lydia.
And I'm Caroline.
And in each episode, we'll be talking to you about a different invasive plant we've seen in the area and giving you native alternatives to plant instead. Remember, natives are always a better bet for your garden, and we're here to help you find the best one for your space. This week, we're here to talk to you about an invasive sedge. Carex morowii, or Japanese sedge, was first recorded on the West Coast in Portland, Oregon in 1907 and on the East Coast in 1929 in New Jersey's Island Beach State Park. Both were believed to have been accidental introductions, possibly from ballast water from ships. In the 1960s through the 1980s, it was regularly planted along the eastern seaboard to stabilize sand dunes. Today, it's mostly used as a landscape plant. Also called moro sedge, this grass-like perennial from central and southern Japan is pretty low maintenance. It does well in a variety of soil types, in shaded and well-drained areas. It adds texture and height to gardens, rarely has pests or disease issues, and tolerates deer grazing. It's also highly salt-tolerant, which is a plus in New York State. However, let's not forget that this is an invasive plant. It is fast-growing in the right conditions. As the sedge takes over coastlines and beaches, it reduces the habitat of endangered species, putting them in a precarious situation. It also makes dunes more vulnerable to erosion, or it overstabilizes them. Either way, it drastically alters the beach's natural processes, changing the environment. Though your garden may not be on the edge of a water body, Japanese sedge is still harmful. It still causes biodiversity loss because it creates densely clumped mats that hinder the growth of native plants. Its deep rhizome network also makes it a challenge to get rid of. So Caroline, what can they plant instead of this invasive sedge?
Well, Lydia, there are a multitude of beautiful native sedges they can choose from. So I am going to be greedy and talk about 3 today, very quickly. I want to show the diversity of sedges. These are a great alternative to grass, particularly in some of our hard-to-plant areas, and I'll cover that in a second. But the first one I'm going to talk about is Pennsylvania sedge, Carex pennsylvanica. This is a beautiful little sedge. It gets about 6 inches to a foot tall, and it spreads about the same width. It has lovely foliage, very fine foliage. It's not really the showiest of the sedges, I'm going to be honest, but it does a beautiful job at being hardy, low maintenance, and playing well with other shade-loving plants in the garden. You can do a gorgeous shade garden with this plant, and it can tolerate dry conditions. So this is a great one if you want to have something growing under trees where your grasses aren't really thriving. You could do a beautiful planting of sedge instead, particularly this Pennsylvania sedge. It also tolerates wet soil, so this is one that can grow in either really dry or really wet conditions quite well. So I highly recommend this.
Very versatile.
Yes, it is. And it has a beautiful mounding form. It's not going to look like a lawn grass, but it really is going to add an elegant touch to your garden. The other one that's somewhat similar is ivory sedge. This one has the advantage of being highly salt tolerant. It spreads slowly through rhizomes and has very attractive fine foliage. Like many other sedges, it's pretty much a tough as nails plant. It likes kind of dry to medium soil, and it can grow in very poor soils quite well. The final one I want to talk about is a little bit bigger, and this is a little bit more of a showpiece in a garden if you're really looking for that kind of height and drama, and it's called copper-shouldered oval sedge, or Carex bicknellii. This is a prairie sedge, and as the other sedges do, it tolerates a wide range of soils, and it will do well in both full sun or light shade. It has beautiful foliage that greens up before your grasses in the spring. And then in the early summer, you're going to get these beautiful copper-colored oval seed heads that add a certain look to your garden that I really appreciate.
And finally, as we finish up this episode, Caroline has some tips for you.
All right, so one of the challenges with native sedges is they can be a little harder to start from seed. So you can't just spread seed like you would for a lawn down as a ground cover. We recommend either buying them by the flat online, which will probably give you the most bang for your buck, or my favorite solution is always just going and talking to a local nursery and seeing if they can order in a flat of plants for you. That helps support the local economy, and you'll get beautiful fresh plants.
And you have a better chance of getting something native.
Exactly. And it lets its local businesses know that their customers value native plants. So it is a great thing to ask for. The other trick with growing sedge is to make sure the one you select matches up with your soil moisture. So this is another plant you really want to read the label on. Most are really tolerant of different amounts of light, and you can grow in almost any soil conditions, but they really resemble Goldilocks when it comes to having just the right amount of water for them, and they will decline rapidly without that.
Thanks for joining us to learn about native alternatives to invasives in your garden. We hope you learned something new to make your garden even better.